They say you shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you. I watched that same hand carve into a $400 steak. My father didn't so much as glance at me as he nudged the bread basket across the pristine white tablecloth, just a lazy shove, the way you'd slide leftovers toward a dog waiting under the table. My brother, the golden child in all his glory, kept his eyes fixed on his plate, savoring every mouthful. His wife, Victoria, looked at me with that smile, that one. The kind that says, without a single word, that she's already claimed the winning position. "Be grateful you're even invited," she murmured, loud enough for everyone to hear. I lifted the bread and stayed silent. That's the thing about being underestimated, you can make it your sharpest weapon. 3 years ago, I would have broken down. I would have asked what unforgivable thing I'd done, why my own father looked at me like I was a liability he couldn't justify anymore. But 3 years ago, I didn't possess the knowledge I have now. I didn't know my brother had been slowly poisoning them against me. It began with tiny things, missed calls I never got, invitations to family gatherings that somehow never found my inbox. Then came the stories, carefully woven lies about my supposed instability, my reckless finances, my envy of his accomplishments. He had been constructing a narrative for years, stacking each lie like a brick, until I was branded the family disgrace without ever realizing a portrait of me was being painted. The truth landed in my hands by accident, a forwarded email chain Victoria sent to the wrong address is mine. Every line dripped with bitterness. Details about how they were managing me. Notes on shaping my father's opinion. Plans to edge me out of the succession for the family business. My brother's responses were cold, calculated. He'd been engineering my removal as if it were a hostile corporate takeover. I read the emails 7 times. Then I stopped crying, and I started planning. See, my brother's empire stood on the foundation my father laid for him. Seed capital, connections, the family name. But foundations crack. And for the past 6 months, I'd been finding every single fracture. His company was drowning in debt. He'd taken out loans using Dad's properties as collateral, without legitimate paperwork. That's fraud, for the record. His marriage? Built on Victoria's family money, and they were about to get very curious about where their daughter's trust fund had been disappearing. Those investments he bragged about? Let's be honest, they were gambling losses disguised through shell companies. His spotless public image? About to collide with my attorney, my records, and a regulatory board ready to feast. I had stayed quiet. Patient. Gathering ammunition while they toasted their victory over steaks and artisan bread. When the waiter arrived with dessert menus, I stood up. The table fell silent. My father finally looked at me, annoyed, as if I were interrupting something monumental. "I won't be having dessert," I said evenly. "But before I leave, there's something everyone should hear." My brother's fork froze halfway to his mouth. "I've spent the past 6 months pulling apart something interesting," I said. "The fraudulent loans. The forged signatures on Dad's properties. The embezzlement from Victoria's family trust." I smiled. It felt righteous. "I have copies of everything, bank statements, emails, recorded calls." "Thank you, single-party consent laws." Victoria's face went pale. "I've already filed reports with the SEC this morning," I continued. "Dad's lawyers will get the full documentation tomorrow, along with instructions on how he can recover his assets before they're seized." I looked at my father. His irritation had dissolved into slow, dawning horror. "You should call them tonight." My brother shot to his feet. "You're lying." "Am I?" I placed my phone on the table. Federal investigators seem to find me extremely credible. They'll be in touch within 48 hours. The whole restaurant seemed to hush. Other diners stopped mid-bite. "As for tonight's bill," I said as I picked up my bag, "send it to the people who actually ate." I only had bread. I walked out before anyone could compose a response. The valet brought my car, paid for with my own money, earned at the job I built without my father's help or my brother's sabotage. My phone buzzed before I reached the highway. Dad's name lit up the screen. I let it ring. Then I blocked him. People think revenge is about hurting others. They're wrong. Revenge is walking away from people convinced you'll never be strong enough to do it. I drove home with the windows down, night air filling the car. For the first time in 3 years, I felt free. They wanted me to be grateful for scraps of bread. Instead, I served them a full feast of consequences. And I didn't leave a single crumb behind.